I want to share with you what is perhaps the most unusual use of synagogue property maybe in the world. I don't know of anyone else who's doing anything like this. What I'm showing you right now is just it's a 16 by 24 storage building that my nephew and I built on the property so we would have some space to store some things that belong to the synagogue. And as I pan here, you can see that I'm panning over and showing you a tent. As you can see, it's got 3 peaks on it. This is a commercial grade, what they call a high peak pole tent. It is 30 feet by 60 feet, and it's made out of nylon fabric covered with PVC. It's a 16-ounce fabric that is supposed to be able to withstand the elements for many years of constant use. And I'm going to walk around the end here, and we're going to look inside. And what you see here on the ground, that's a substance called slag. It's actually a glass product, but it's a very impure glass product. And what it comes from is in the process of making steel products like pipe, which is where this comes from. This comes from a factory here in Tyler called Tyler Pipe that makes iron and steel pipe. And they extrude the pipe into sand. And as that molten metal is extruded into the sand, it actually melts the sand into this substance called slag. And which is, silica is the way that you make glass. Now the thing about this is, because it has so many impurities in it, when it breaks, it doesn't have sharp edges like what we normally typically think of glass having. The edges are dull, so excuse me, there's not any chance of it cutting anyone or puncturing tires or anything like that. And because we have a steel factory in this area, and a byproduct is slag, we're able to get this where most people might not be able to. And it's great for putting down for road beds, and like this, we created a pad in front of the tent where people would enter, just so that people are not walking through mud and so on. As you can see, as I back up here, whoops, sorry. As I back up here, the end panels on the tent are missing. You see those double doors, and I'm sure that it looks really strange to see double glass doors in a tent. But this is going to be, at least for a couple years anyway, this is going to be our worship structure. And so instead of having people having to walk in and out of flaps in a tent, we went ahead and bought a kit for double doors. And once we're done on the inside of the tent doing everything that we need to, then we'll put those end panels on, and they will attach to the frame of the doors there, and completely enclose the tent. Now we're going to walk inside, and I'll just give you a little bit of an explanation. Well, before we do that, I want to show you something. We're going to go around here on the side of the tent, and I want you to see that down here at this end of the tent, the foundation platform that we created for the tent doesn't extend very high above the ground. But as we go further back here, you see it gets higher and higher and higher until once we get back here to the back corner of the tent, the platform is actually now somewhere around 20 inches off the ground. And so there was a slope here that before we could put down the tent we had to correct. We couldn't bring in so much fill dirt. We didn't have the money to bring in fill dirt to level off the whole property. So we built this framework out of 2x material and then we backfilled it with something called Red Select. It is a very iron-based clay mixture that is found naturally here in East Texas, and once packed makes a very good solid base. And then on top of that, about 4 inches on top of that, we placed what's called Caliche. And Caliche is it's also a naturally occurring product. It's just dug out of the ground. And when it is brought in and laid down, spread out, and then packed, like with a 1.5 ton roller vibrator, it packs very, very hard, almost like cement, like concrete. The only problem is, as you can see, Caliche has very large rocks in it, and that can be problematic if you're going to try to do something like we're doing. And so over here to the side, something that you saw earlier, maybe didn't pay attention to earlier when I was panning around, we've got this pile of pea gravel, which we will be bringing inside the tent and spreading to even out any dips and to fill in around those big rocks and so on, just to make a more smooth surface. And then we're going to lay this carpet. And this is a marine grade rubber-backed indoor-outdoor carpet. It's made for like going on boats, where there's going to be the possibility of a lot of water and mud and that kind of thing. So it's a very it can hold up under those kinds of conditions. Now, as we look around, you'll notice my nephew and I, Rick is his name, we have wired the tent. It has lights, it has electrical plugs. It is it's wired for us to be able to worship in here. And so that part is already done. And I'll just tell you what's remaining to be done is we have some ceiling issues to take care of. As you can see right here, it's rained recently. Part of this is, the rain blew in on this end because there's no flaps, but as we look further on down, we know that the rain didn't blow the moisture in, the rain in that far. And you can see all these big wet spots. So we have some issues that we have to take care of around the edge of the tent, and specifically where the side poles go through the tent. Probably going to have to do some patching with silicone or something like that. And so, we have a few issues like that to take care of, but those are actually minor issues that can be easily taken care of. What needs to happen here is, of course, we need to bring the gravel in and spread it out. We need to cut and lay the carpet, and then once that's done, then there's actually furnishings and decorative type things that need to be brought in here. What we're desiring to do on that far wall, which is where the Aron Kodesh will reside, is we want to put a faux Jerusalem stone panel across that whole end that we're going to create. We have a friend who is an artisan and who has actually experimented with this kind of thing before and knows a method whereby we can actually do that pretty inexpensively, relatively speaking. And then we also need to build a platform that would sit on the ground in front of that panel, a platform where the Aron Kodesh would actually sit, and some other elements that we would add in that general vicinity. We'll also need a platform that will sit basically where these rolls of carpet are, where the where the bima. There's going to be a platform built where the bima would sit for the purpose of reading the Torah. And I'm sorry for if you see my hand every once in a while in front of the lens. I've got a very persistent mosquito. You can see it. Persistent mosquito who's trying to bite me, and I'm trying to get rid of him. Anyway, forgive that. And so those are the major things that need to occur in here. Now, I'm reticent, to tell you the truth, I'm reticent at this point in time, because of what I'm about to tell you, to show you much else on the property. There are a few things that I want to show you, but I'm not going to be panning around the property too much because of safety reasons. I don't want to give away the position of where this property is located unless it's it's a need-to-know basis only. So I don't want to share that with just everybody in the world, and so I'm going to show you some other things here in a moment, and just share more with you about our vision for this property. We have 3 acres here. Most of it has not been cleared and is full of trees and brush and so on, as you see here. So there's a lot of potential on this property. We're just we don't have enough manpower or finances to really take advantage of all the potential that is on this property. As you can see, we have made a trail through the woods so that we can actually get from point A to point B. On this property we have some picnic tables, and these metal posts that you see sticking up look like shepherd's crooks. These are actually lamp posts, so we can hang white gas lamps like Coleman lanterns or whatever in order to provide lighting for the picnic tables in the evening. One of the other things that we've chosen to do on this property is to create 6 foot by 10 foot garden boxes above ground, as you can see, for planting vegetables. And in this particular one, we have some watermelon plants that are beginning to come up for a fall crop. And then down here on this end, these are cantaloupe plants. And in this box, we have tomatoes. And over here, we have, this is okra. We have eggplant, and in fact, if I get down here, you can see there's a little eggplant right there that's in the process of growing into a big eggplant. And then in the back there, we actually have some bell pepper plants in this box. And then over here, we have a box that has cucumbers growing in it. And then I wheel around here. This box is not full, but we have both, in here we have both straight neck and crooked neck yellow squash growing. This plant and the bigger one over there, those are older plants that survived through the summer. Those are straight neck squash plants. That's the reason why they're so much bigger than these other plants. These other crooked neck yellow squash plants were just planted recently, so they're younger plants, smaller. And then in this box is going to, when the time comes, going to also have potatoes planted in it. But right now, as you can see, we just now have Crowder peas and purple hull peas sprouting up out of the ground. I just planted these recently. Okay. And what you see over there in the background, that blue barrel, that's just that's a water barrel that we have that provides us with some water. Not a whole lot, It's about a 50-gallon barrel. It's mostly for washing hands and that kind of thing. Over here we have 2 compost bins. And we started both of them at the same time, so they're both still in the process of cooking as they call it. And as you can see over here, I had come over and made a hole and buried some vegetable matter in the hole and covered it up, and you can see that it's no longer covered up. So some kind of little critter, I don't know, possum or armadillo or something, came over here and smelled that vegetable matter in there and dug down and got themselves a meal. Over here, this is still a work in progress, as you can see. What this is, I guess the best way to describe it is it's going to be a permanent tent, so to speak. It's made from cedar posts. We found 2 trees that were about the same size and spaced far enough apart like we needed, and we cut them off at 7 feet. And they're still rooted in the ground. That's what we used for our uprights, and then the cross member and the upright timbers are cedar, and then we're putting treated plywood on top of that, and then it will be covered with tar paper and roll roofing. And it's about 20, well, if you count the length of the plywood from end to end, these are whole sheets, we didn't cut anything down. It's about 24 feet long, and at the base about 10 feet across from one side to the other. And so once this is done, it can be used for either storing things in, which is probably how it will be used initially. But if necessary, we could move all the stuff out of it, and you know, with the proper drainage that we will have to dig around it because it's on a slope, it could become a shelter for people, and you could actually lay quite a few people down in there to sleep, you know, crossways. Over in this area, which is just off the end of the garden boxes, I know you can't tell it right now because it's pretty shaded at this time of the morning, but there's a lot of sun that hits right in this area during most of the day, when the sun finally does get up in the sky high enough, which will be in another, probably an hour or something like that. Gets a lot of sun, and so we want to build a solar hot water heater and shower facility over in this area. Down here we have one of two wells that are on the property. As you can see, we built a gantry over the well so that we could lower a bucket into it if we needed to. But we also installed a hand crank water pump off to the side on this platform, and this, you know, if we need to dip into the well, we will, but the pump usually does a pretty good job of bringing the water up for us. The only problem with this well, and probably is going to be the same with the other well we haven't done anything with yet. It has been filled in over time with dirt and so on, and doesn't have any water in it. The other one doesn't. This one has some water in it, but we can't dig the well deep enough. This is a shallow well. It fills up with the rain, but when we go for a long period of time without rain, then the well dries up. So it's not deep enough to be reliable as far as a water source is concerned. And the reason we're having trouble digging it out is because down in the bottom is this, it's the most beautiful sand that you would ever see. It's like something that you would find on the beach, and wonderful sand. But when you're down in the bottom of the well trying to dig it out, you take one shovelful out, and you know, two shovelfuls flow back into the bottom of the well. So it's a no-win situation. We're going to have to do something completely different. I'm afraid what we're going to need to do is, with some manner, drive a pipe stem down through the ground in the middle of the well until we hit a deeper water table that will bring water up to the surface and fill the well and keep it filled. But we're trying to establish this as a consistent and reliable water source for the property, as well as the other well that's on the property. I'm not going to show you that well because it would give away too much of the identity of the property. But there's another well like this, and that needs to be dug out. It also has a gantry over it. We haven't set up the pump for it yet, but it does have a gantry, and we're going to need to dig that out as well. As you can see, the roof on this storage building that I showed you at the beginning is metal. And one of the other things that we want to do is on both sides set up a rain collection system, especially since our wells are not that reliable. We need to have a rain collection system so that we have an alternative way of collecting water for the purpose of drinking, cooking, bathing, etc. I'm showing you this area because I want to tell you about a topic that is like a favorite of everybody's, I'm sure. And that is one of the other projects that we need to take care of is that we're going to have to provide restroom facilities of some sort. And so the plan is to come back here in this area and dig some good sized holes and build two-seater outhouses back here, one for the guys, one for the ladies. And I'm sure everybody hearing that's going, oh boy, my favorite thing. But it's just going to be necessary, obviously. And so that's what is planned for this area. In the meantime, this area over here, we've spread some slag. And a little bit later today, a sanitation company will be coming to deliver two porta-johns that will sit over here that will take care of the restroom needs for the time being. I know that's not what people prefer. They like having regular bathrooms with running water and all that kind of stuff, but we just don't have that here. Also, back in this area, which if I pan over a little bit, you might be able to see that down there in the woods is that well that I showed you before. So just up the hill on more level ground, we want to build a chicken house and yard and have some chickens here. We also desire to put some goats on the property, dairy goats. They're very good at eating away and cleaning off all this brush. And they would also provide meat and milk for us. I've come here to this location. Again, I'm not going to pan around too much. Just again to try to give a little privacy and secrecy. But I came here because there's these posts for a fence, and just to let you know, to put a fence, what they call a no-climb fence, so that the animals can't get out around this 3 acres, is going to cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of between $6,000 and $7,000. to fence the entire 3 acres.